Enter a world of unicorns, magic swamps, dwarves, and rainbows.
Woo! On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the metalcore band from Santa Cruz, California, known as Arsonist. Get all the girls. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ItSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings. Make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
I wish you'd realize it's sink or swim. We're surrounded by an endless sea. And you'll get fed to the sharks, I can guarantee. With my last breath left here on this rock, don't mistake me for saving grace or praise my face. Smash you down if you take the place of a god or just a minnow. Just because you toss the seed and watch it grow doesn't mean you created the show.
Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, sponsored by the Church of Seven Track, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the core genre. Curtis, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Josh. Josh, welcome to 2025.
We're here.
We're here. We made
Release the balloons.
it. Oh, wait a minute. There's supposed to be a way you're supposed to do it on here. I can't remember though.
Is
Anyway,
it
I don't think it's a thumbs up. I
no,
want to say it's
oh,
like, is this maybe?
we got something here.
I'm trying to think. No, or maybe it's
Is it the
you have
shocker?
to.
Shocker, brah.
Uh,
I know this works on like FaceTime,
Hey, yeah,
but I
hey.
can't make it work.
Yeah, no, I had it. I thought there was a
Release the
balloon
balloons.
I can do this. It's not balloons, but
Hey.
hey. I don't think there's balloons. Let me see if there's balloons real quick. We're already off track, but you know, who cares? Here we go. Release the balloons.
There
Hey.
we go.
Alrighty. Anyway, yeah, 2025 is finally here, Josh. It's snowing, or it has snowed a little. I mean, nothing to write home about, but
It
first
hasn't been
snowfall of the year.
snowing today. None of
And
it's
it's
stinking,
cold
but
as
it
all
is
get out.
snowing.
No, that's fine though. It's all
Yeah.
cold as all get out. Yeah. Other than that, Josh, how's it been going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You been enjoying your week of little arsonist?
Yeah, I'm watching a shark fight a bear.
Over they're fighting over the bunny head.
Yeah, over the coveted rabbit head anchor.
Who gets the coveted rabbit head anchor? Nice. Very nice, man. Well, before we dive too deep into the band known as Arsonists Get All the Girls, I'd like to do a little segment each episode where we talk about some other bands that we listen to during the week. So, Josh, as always, please start us off. What did you listen to this week?
I listened to in its entirety. Oh, oops. I guess I didn't
Oops.
put it in here. Hold on. There you go. And get that there. In
Technical
its
difficulties.
entirety, live from the church.
Very nice. Very nice. Um,
Yeah,
is this supposed to be a face? What is that? Is it like a dog face?
I'm getting like a bear face.
A bear face?
It could be many faces.
Looks like a yeah, it looks like a dog face to me.
Some kind of animal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hmm. It's a good album though. It's a
It's an
great album.
amazing album. I love to watch it, but also listening to it's just as good.
Right.
Yeah, they've still got it, Curtis. Nothing has
I've
nothing has
still
faded.
got it.
You
I was
know,
gonna say is anything, yeah, I mean that
If
Nothing's
anything, I feel like
changed.
they're just getting better.
Right. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Great album.
What about you?
Well, uh, I double dipped.
Ah,
I couldn't help myself, man. This is the equivalent to your Coheed obsession. I can't get off these two albums now. I'm stuck. I
okay.
can't I can't get away. So, yeah. And they just keep getting better and better and better and better and better. And every time I think, oh, I'll get burnt out on it. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Colors one and colors two from Between the Buried and Me just keep getting better.
Well, it's
Terrific.
refreshing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of bands that we go over that by the time we get done with them, we're like, okay, and I'm done with you for quite a while, or maybe forever, based on who it is. But
Right, exactly. Yeah.
it's
Sometimes you just
nice
need that
when
break, but
it's nice when we cover
yeah.
some that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be listening to this for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Um, be honest with you, I think Arsonist is probably going to fit that bill for me
Oh yeah,
in terms of I can still listen to this for quite a while. I will be honest with you. I mean, Game of Life was really the only full album that I was familiar with them. I thought I had heard Hits from the Bow before, but it didn't seem
nothing really clicked.
yeah, it didn't like didn't register for me like that I had listened to before. So anyway, so Game of Life was more the one that I remember overall. Um, but even when they go through the change in the middle of the discography with the new vocalist and Portals and Motherland, I don't remember like sitting here thinking, I don't like that song or that song's bleh. I mean, it's not a bad song to me in this discography.
The only thing that really changes is their style, like
Yeah.
slightly shifts during those two albums. And it's so slight that it's almost like every few songs, you kind of got to remind yourself, you're like, oh yeah. Like they've got that little different thing going on. It's not, I don't know. I feel like they turn their electronic element down a little
Mhm.
bit, kind of across the board in those two albums, I feel like. There's still a lot of it there, but it's not what it is on Hits from the Bow, Game of Life, or Listen to the Color.
Right.
So I think those just like slight changes, it doesn't like their quality doesn't go down. And I feel like that's why those two
No,
albums
no.
are confusing to me more than anything because they are good, but they're not the exact arsonist that you would come to love at that point. But they hadn't gone so far in a different direction that it was like, if you were into them before, you weren't going to be now.
No, no. I think some of the reviews that we'll have for some of these albums, they talk about like the early stuff, like Hits from the Bow and Game of Life. They talk about how there's a mashup of different genres. And then once you get to like Portals and Motherland, it feels like they really kind of narrowed it down. And so it's more, I don't know, because it feels like with Hits from the Bow and Game of Life, it does feel chaotic and it feels at times very like hard turn left, hard turn right, whereas Portals and Motherland to me feel like a more traditional fill in the blank genre album. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's
No, I
just
get
me
that.
though.
No, I get that.
Um, my other question too, I was going to ask you was the guy who's the vocalist on Portals and Motherland, Jared Monette, does he make you think of somebody? Because I was sitting there listening to him and I'm thinking, I can't think of who, but I'm like, he sounds like somebody that I feel like we've covered not so long ago, actually.
He sounds like what's his face from Ghost Inside.
Okay.
He has those moments because there were a couple times too where I was like, oh yeah, I'm picking up some Ghost Inside here.
Okay. Hmm. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it some more because I that's not the one that I would think of.
Okay.
But I don't know. Just wondered what you thought, maybe. But all right, Josh, let's dive on into this history here. You want to? No? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Ah, today we are taking a look at the band known as Arsonist Get All the Girls. Is it true, Josh? Do arsonists get all the girls?
That is true.
Oh man. I knew I was missing something back in the day.
Hmm.
Like, where's all the girls at? Why can I not get it? The genre that they are categorized in is metalcore, deathcore, mathcore, grindcore, and progressive metal. And I think way back on our I Wrestled a Bear Once episode, that's going a ways back, Josh. I think we started talking about partycore. And if I remember correctly, you had thrown Arsonist in that category. Do you still think so?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. I mean, that's the vibe that I get with it.
Yeah. It doesn't feel as goofy as
No,
like
no,
early
not
I
like,
Wrestled a Bear once or
yeah, no,
something,
no,
but
no. It still kind of has a vibe though of like house shows and, you know,
yeah.
but Silent Pendulum Records website, which lists the band as parts of their current roster, described the band saying, quote, through a series of unplanned success, California's progressive experimental grind beach bums, arsonists, get all the girls, have transcended their music to levels far beyond their expectations. The group has created memorable experiences for fans since their inception in 2005, with their delivery of 5 outstanding albums and relentless touring all over the world. Formed in 2005 in Santa Cruz, California by Cameron Reed on vocals and keys, Remy Rodberg on vocals and keys, Adam Trowbridge on guitar, Arthur Alvarez on guitar, James Lucas on guitar, Nick Cardinelli on guitar,
On guitar.
Patrick Mason on bass. I felt like when I was saying
Everybody
that,
get in here. Come
yeah, I don't
on.
know why, but I felt like Ben Stiller on Dodgeball when he's introducing the team. It was just like
Laser.
laser,
Blazer.
blaze, blazer. Patrick Mason on bass and Garen Rosen on drums. Now, there's 4 guitarists there, Josh, but they're going to lose those guitarists pretty quickly. So we're gonna trim the fat off. I mean,
As you
do we
as you
really
do.
need 4 guitarists? I mean,
Four,
even in a
no.
crazy band like this,
I'll allow three. Three
yeah,
is the max, Curtis.
4 is just not right. Throughout their existence, the band would be plagued by constant member changes, which means they fit the format here for History of the Course. They have
Yeah,
our seal of
they're right at home
approval.
here.
Right. The band was known for taking influence from varying genres, particularly in their early years, for fusing extreme metal with various electronic music styles. Quickly, a short 3-song demo would be recorded and released by the band, featuring songs entitled Symphony of Baseball Bats. Oh, that hurts me just saying that. I got invited to the orgy, but the orgy didn't invite me. And 24/7. And kind of funny that just before we decided to do this band, they released that demo finally on Spotify. So I was like, hey, very nice. Thank you very
There
much.
we
I'll listen to
go.
that
Yeah.
for sure, man. You have any thoughts on that demo?
I liked it. It's just,
Very
it's
raw.
pretty raw. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But it was good.
By the time the demos were recorded and released, the lineup would be solidified with Cameron Reed on vocals and keys, Remy Rodberg on vocals and keys, Nick Cardinelli on guitar, Arthur Alvarez on guitar, Patrick Mason on bass, Garen Rosen on drums. Touring locally after the release of their 3-song demo, the band would head into the studio to record their debut album, 2006's Hits
It's
from the
from the
Bow
bow.
from Process
Boom.
Records. Kaboom, kaboom,
Explosion.
kaboom. Shark teeth. Ah. Yeah. I think that album artwork describes the music very well, Josh, don't you think? Makes you feel like there is a shark, a boat shark coming after your
Road
tiny sailboat.
shark. Yeah.
What is happening? Denise Falzon. Oh, you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Denise Falzon from exclaim.ca wrote a brief review of the album years after its release, stating, quote, the re-release from Santa Cruz, California's Arsonists Get All the Girls is, to say the least, unique. The band makes a plethora of genres from death metal and grindcore to ska and electronic, giving them an original sound that's ahead of our time. Hits from the Bow starts strong and brutal with, this time, you're gonna get it dirty, Shirley, which demonstrates the incredible vocal work of Kevin Reed, transitioning between death metal growls and high-pitched pig squeals. The album continues along with death metal slash grindcore wavelength, but with a very technical and experimental style, making it unpredictable and almost schizophrenic. The six-piece band makes use of keyboards and synthesizers to create their distinct experimental deathcore sound. Garen Rosen takes his drumming to different territories on tracks like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which has a punk rock vibe. Arsonists Get All the Girls play with unique time structures throughout. Limbo is the most scattershot track on Hits from the Bow, sounding like five different songs melded into one. The band is extremely tight, and the 30-minute album is both brutal yet wacky, intense yet somehow unbelievably mellow. Songs on this album include This Time, You Gotta Get It Dirty, Shirley. Red Meat and Big Trucks, Scobra versus Cupcake, The Battle of the Bulge, Shat Shark Tart, Zombies Ate My Neighbor, Jazzy Jeffrey, Cincinnati, Canadian Unigod, Limbo, and the finale, City of Angels, Cakewalk. What was your entry point, Josh, into Arsonist Go All the Girls? I should have asked that earlier.
I had heard of them when Hits from the Bow came out, and I think I'd heard like a couple of these songs, but I hadn't listened to a full album till Game of Life.
Okay. And then did you ever get to see them in concert?
Dude, I was at several shows that they were supposed to play, and
Ah,
they never showed up for a single one of them.
hmm,
It's like one time they'd gotten
weird.
arrested, like at a
Oh well,
party with another band who like was
yeah.
also supposed to be there. And then another time, yeah, they didn't show, and we got money back both times, but because they were headliners.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I've been screwed a couple times not seeing them, but it sucked. It was 2017. They did a 10-year for Game of Life,
Yeah,
and they were at Vanguard, but I couldn't go for whatever reason. But yeah, that would have been cool
yeah.
because they were going to play Game of Life in its
Game of Life in its
entirety.
entirety. Yeah.
Oh, oh, ugh. I'm a sucker for that. If a okay, everybody's like so crazy for these like, when we were young tours or whatever and all that. I will throw money at a band who is willing to just go out there and tour one album. You play that one album in its entirety. Like that's a cash cow right there. And
Oh,
so many
yeah.
bands are
And
just
I think that's
leaving
why
money
so
on
many
the
bands are
table.
doing it though.
No, but a lot of these bands aren't playing an entire album. Like they're being told like what album of theirs to play, is like the
Okay.
problem with
Hmm.
a lot of this. Because what was the big deal here recently? Some band dropped off because they were being told which albums they were supposed to play at these festivals.
No, I don't know that.
But
Hmm.
yeah, because I want to see Coheed play, you know, um, No World for Tomorrow or Silent Earth 3. I don't know that I mean, I would still want to hear it. I would still want to hear Vaxis in its entirety, Vaxis 1
Right.
or 2. But I don't know. I just, there's something about that. If bands can go out and tour just that album, and then the next tour, let's do another album. I think that would sell ridiculously well.
Yeah. Um, what? Getting back on track here though. What'd you think
I
about their
basically
debut,
just
Josh?
described to you, Curtis, how bands used to tour albums when they came out. That's basically what I just described to you.
Oh, I was about to say, okay, are you talking more? Because I was thinking, I mean, bands do that for anniversaries,
Right.
you know. I was about to say that's a big thing anymore is, oh, let's do an anniversary tour. If you're talking, so you're talking more of like, okay, I just put out a new album and we're gonna tour that way. Yeah, because I feel like I'm with you if that's what you're saying. They don't do it like that anymore.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I was saying that like I would want. Okay, I'll give you an example. So, Zayo goes out on tour, and this tour we're only playing "Where Blood and Fire Bring Rest," and then the next tour we're only going to be playing. And it doesn't even have to be the next tour. Let's say they've got an album coming out. They want to play a mix of their stuff with a bunch of the new stuff. Then
Right.
we're going to do another tour, maybe a couple years down the road, that is the Funeral of God tour, where we only play Funeral of God and just in its entirety. And then, maybe after that, we're playing Crimson Corridor. It's just, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. I
There's,
there's some bands that are out there that do that,
it
but
needs to be done by everybody. Curtis, it needs to be
standard.
done by the bands that I want to see.
Yeah, I think what you need to do is start your own record company, sign
Okay.
these said bands, and
Okay.
then lure them into contracts where you have all the say of what their set list is.
Easy. We're done.
Easy, done. We just created a multi-million dollar record company right there, man. All right. Anyway, hits from the bow, Josh.
Hits from the bow. I like hits from the
Uh,
bow. It's not as catchy, I would say, as Game of Life. But there are a lot of really cool things in this album. I think is it Scope Reverse Cupcake at the beginning where it like the music like kind of starts and then you just hear him go, "Ugh," and then
no,
like
it's
then it
no,
picks up again.
it's the
Or is
next
that
one,
Shat
Shat
Shark?
Shark, because that
Okay.
I do, because I can't not think of that song because I always laugh when I hear that one.
Ugh. Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
what the world, man? Which, listening to overall their discography,
ugh.
ugh.
Oh my God.
Listening to their discography overall, it made me think of, I mean, I agree with what you're saying in the last episode when we were talking about Between the Buried and Me and how they would do some of these kind of off the wall stuff. And you're saying it made you think of Arsonists at times. It's like, yeah, okay, I can see where he's getting that from, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember hearing Tommy Rogers doing a, but
In
you
Game
know,
of Life, where he's like, "That's right, bitch."
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, this is a good one though. It's a good start to the discography. Coming in hard. The ice cream truck kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting
Yeah,
that.
that did not age well.
Yeah, that did not. So,
Just know that,
yeesh.
if you listen to the beginning of
It's
Hits from the Bow,
2006.
in 2006, a lot less kids were getting shot. So
Yeah.
I think it was more of just like, whoa, what's going on?
What's
Now
happening?
it's very, very dark. But
Yeah. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. No. But like I was saying earlier, for me, in their discography overall, I don't think there's a bad album. I don't even think there's a bad song, um, to me personally. It just kind of changes again towards the middle there, but it's just a slight adjustment.
as is the case with, I feel like, a lot of bands who aren't taken as seriously like this, um, there's, I don't know, everybody in this band through all its periods are all very talented musicians.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
even from the beginning. And these guys are pretty young when they start. So it's, I don't know, it's something that carries through all of their albums. Just this amazing like quality that they bring to the table in their music, I feel like. And everything, even when it takes a sharp turn that maybe makes you laugh or you feel like is kind of ridiculous, you're still sitting there saying, "Oh, well, this guy's now he's playing classical guitar. Like they're
Right.
clearly like,
They're
you know,
talented.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
talented. Like they're on top of it."
But they're doing it their way,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and what fits their personality, which is cool, and it works out for the listener as well.
Yeah.
So, um,
Do you have the same feeling I do where, okay, so they were kind of with the EP into Hits from the Bow, they were kind of cultivating this sound,
mhm,
which was finalized in Game of Life.
right.
I feel like without some of the changes, that probably would have been the sound that they persisted with for the next
Well,
few
I think
albums.
that's what you get on Listen to the Color is like it's kind of a return to that.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like
Yeah.
they really in that album, a lot of bands like try at a certain point in their discography to get back to the sound of like their most successful album or essentially their best album.
I mean,
And
heck, we saw it with Between the Buried and Me and Colors,
right, and for
you
a
know.
lot of bands it doesn't hit the mark. You
Right.
know, how could Devil Wears Prada ever
Oh,
recreate the sound of Zombie 1 in Zombie 2, you know?
right.
Like a fair try, but you'll never fully recreate that. Even Between the Buried Me with Colors 2, it doesn't hit the same way that Colors 1 does, you know?
Right.
And for them to go back on Listen to the Color, create an album that sounds like everything that was great about Game of Life and be better than it is like I don't know if we've had that happen with a band we've talked
No.
about yet. Like
Mm-mm.
this is
No.
I think this is the first and it
It's
sets kind of like a new bar.
yeah, it's either at a max it's good, but it's not as good as an original or what they were trying to live up to, or yeah, this was just they shouldn't even tried.
Right, a complete
It's usually
miss.
the scale that we're on that we've worked with bands here in that situation, at
But
least
for
so far.
them,
But yeah,
on their
they
third album after that,
right. Yeah.
yeah, just insane
Yeah.
to go back,
To go back to your
recapture that
roots, but
sound.
then take it to a new level.
Yeah, and then you top what was your best album. Yeah,
Right.
insane.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's their debut. It's from the bow. The debut album would catch the ears of Century Media Records, which would sign the band. Often running, touring would soon follow to support the band's debut album, but it would not take long, Josh, before the itch to record new material would overcome the group, leading to the release of their sophomore album, 2007's The Game of Life from Century Media Records. Produced by Zach Oren, who has worked with bands such as Light This City, All Shall Perish, and Carnifex, among others. It's a pretty good
That's a
lineup
pretty
there.
good line.
Pretty
Yeah.
good
How
lineup.
how you feel about Like This City? Do you remember them?
Yeah, I would like to hear more, and maybe we can get them on, an episode here sooner or later.
That'd be fun.
Um,
I feel like we'd also have to do a couple other bands kind of in that vein, like Walls of
yeah,
Jericho, maybe.
right. Yeah. They don't have very many albums, do they? Like the
Like
City?
the City? They've got a
Yeah.
few.
Like two or three? I didn't think they had that
Uh,
many, but I could be wrong. Been
Never
wrong
really
before.
kept up with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he did at least two of their early ones, but anyway, from the list that I saw.
They've got four. Okay, one, two, three, four, five. They've got five.
Five, okay.
The first was
Yeah.
Hero Cycle. That was 2003. I think the one that you and I would be most familiar with was Facing the Thousand. That
Yeah,
was
that's the one. Yeah.
2006.
Yep.
And then Storm Chaser 2, I listened to that one quite a bit. And then Terminal Bloom, that was 2018, but that was their most recent.
Ooh. Making a comeback.
And then you said All Shall Perish also, and then Carnifex.
Yes.
That's pretty
Mhm.
solid. That's pretty
Yeah.
solid.
This is the last album, Josh, for guitarist Nick Cardellini, sorry, Cardinelli, bassist Patrick Mason, and vocalist Cameron Reed. And this is also the last album for Remy Rodberg on vocals and keys until his return on Listen to the Color. AllMusic.com writer Eduardo Rivadavia wrote a review on the sophomore release stating, quote, Santa Cruz Sextet and Arsonists Get All the Girls embody the short attention span of an entire generation with their sophomore opus, The Game of Life, which hopscotches incessantly from one music style to another, giving listeners little chance to latch on to anything before squirming out of their tenuous grasp like so many slippery tadpoles. Indeed, even listing all of the band's stylistic touchstones would be a futile exercise in itself, as Arsonists Get All the Girls essentially expound multiple personality disorder as a way of life when it comes to their music. Not even the sanctity of individual songs are respected, and it's therefore not uncommon for tracks such as Cuffed to Your Ankles to shift abruptly from a tonal, freeform death metal into mournful melodies and regimented clean riffs. Others careen wildly but never sit down and stay a while into realms of lounge jazz, 13-year-old Ruby, pure hardcore, to get eaten by rats, and the avant funk metal of Faith No More, Save the Castle, Screw the Princess. And needless to say, the band's lyrics, generally consisting of Cookie Monster growls or enraged screaming, also tend to the absurd, and it's only their clever use of unexpected synthesizer lines amid the general mayhem, see Tordacia in claiming middle age a decade earlier, that makes them remotely original, earning contextual relevance alongside the Nintendo core of fellow Californians, of course, the band. But ultimately, the Game of Life's main attraction is catering to the attention deficiencies of its intended target audience. And that hardly spells a good recipe for attracting a loyal following or enjoying a lengthy career. Songs on this album include Business in the Front, Save the Castle, Screw the Princess, Mantipede, Cuffed to Your Ankles, Shoeshine for Neptune, To Get Eaten by the Rats, Tortasia, Claiming Middle Age a decade earlier, featuring Taylor Young of Moria, Taiwanese Trough Trouble, 13-year-old Ruby, Robando de los Muertos, which means stealing from the dead. I don't know if you knew that or not, Josh. Featuring Derek Ridequist of The Faceless, and the finale. So you think you know about the Game of Life. Already in the rear. Game of Life, Josh. Do you know it? Do you know about it? You don't know about it. No, you don't know because I can't hear you, so I'm just assuming you don't know about it.
I said, you think you know, we know about the Game of Life.
We know about the Game of Life, man. Yeah.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Oh gosh. Not that. Please.
I say that all the
Please, not
time.
that guy, man. You know, it's funny. I was watching for some reason. I don't know if it just came up in like YouTube shorts or something, but it was like a compilation of bowling guys like him just like getting mad or whatever. And
Okay.
I'm just thinking, God, these bowling guys are so like high on themselves. Like
Yeah,
seriously.
for what
One of
reason, I have
one
no
of them,
idea, but
yeah, one of them like, missed a couple of pins and he turns around to the crowd, he's like, they just ask you one thing, man, to silence your phone. That's all. It's like, all right, dude. So you're bowling. That's it, bro. People
right.
do that for fun on the weekends. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Relax.
relax, chillax, bro.
It's like,
What
it's just like any sport. Like every now and again, an athlete comes out in an interview and they're like, yeah, it's just, you got to keep it all in perspective because this is a game that's meant for children. Like, like this is a game. It's for
right.
kids.
She's the
We
game.
turned it into a professional sport, but it's for children.
But it's the game of life, Josh. Game of life, Josh. Tell me about it.
I love the game of life. I love this album. Which album cover do you prefer?
What's the alternative one?
The alternative one is like the jackalope thing. It's
Yeah,
like
I feel like
throwing
I'd
up
seen it.
blood.
Let's see, because I thought I had seen that one.
I was gonna
I don't
make
know
it my
why
like
it's
just
not coming
main
up.
arsonist background, but I couldn't find it one that was like the right format.
Oh, it's like a three-eyed one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I like them both. I'm probably gonna go with the bunny hopping towards the microwave just
I
because
know.
it's
I like
it's the
the
classic
original.
iconic one. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think I'm gonna go with that one.
yeah, that one is
But
iconic as hell.
yeah. Um,
What's your favorite track on this one?
it's probably gonna be shoe shine.
Shoe Shine?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Okay.
it's hard to get away from the main track, right? That it comes out with the title, you know. So you think you know about the game of life,
Oh yeah. I mean,
you
it's a,
know.
it's a good one.
So that's hard to, and you said earlier it's different from what they usually do of kind of the goofiness to end the album, where it's like this is more like serious and like hitting hard to the end of the album, you know.
Yep.
They're asking the hard questions, Josh, on this album. What about you?
I really love Save the Castle. That one always like just the beginning
Doo
of the
doo
album,
doo
like it just feels
doo.
like
Of
kind
course
of like
that
the
that
slow
synth
jog
too,
up to
man.
the run,
Yeah. Doo 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 doo. Yeah, that's a good one, man.
hits so hard. And then yeah, I mean, a lot of these are really good, but these are just like some of my favorites. And then Robondo, of course. I think
Robondo.
I really like favor their synth heavy songs, you
Doo
know?
doo 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 doo. Oh yeah, but that drum
Yeah.
line that goes with it too, though, man. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun.
Oh,
Yep.
oh God, so good. That's a
Delicious.
classic. Yeah, that took me
Delicious.
back, I don't know, 10, 12 years when that one came on for sure. I was like,
Oh yeah.
back in high school. Yeah. Um, t talk to me about because I'm obviously this is the last one that we're gonna have both Remy and Cameron on, besides some guest stuff, especially on like Listen to the Color.
Mhm.
But do you know, is it more of Remy doing the mains?
I believe so.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. But the style is interesting. He's got the highs and the lows. The highs are so like high and shrieky at times, and then those lows do are just like chest rattling. Like, oh God, man.
Right.
Um,
Very different, but in a way, it kind of reminds me of the different ranges they have between guys in Alisana
hmm.
because a lot of those guys aren't really doing like a proper like scream. It's like kind of like I don't know, I can't really replicate it here. The mic's gonna like cut it out for sure, but
Yeah.
it it's just like a such a strained, warbly. I don't know, like it's at points is like almost a yell, but it's like a squawking kind of bark, like at a lot of points.
Yeah.
So hoarse.
Yeah. I think one of the things that makes Listen to the Color good is, for me personally, when you get to that and Remy's your main vocalist on that album, his vocals, where we see most vocalists, I mean, we saw in the last band, not that there was anything wrong with Tommy's vocals in the end, but it felt like it changed. You could hear the age in his voice by the time we got to Colors 2. It changed from, Colors to from even Colors 1, in their 13-year
Yeah.
difference. But I feel like with this, his vocals got so much better. His screaming vocals got so much better by Listen to the Color than Hits from the Bow, or even, to be honest with you, Game of Life. And I love their vocals on both those albums too, but it just feels like it hits even harder on Listen
It
to the Color.
it feels like stronger. Like it
Yeah.
feels like it's the same. It's the same style. And like not really much has changed about that, but there's just like so much more behind it. And it feels, I don't know, it just feels like honed,
I wonder if it's
like
a deal too
perfected.
where I don't know what he did when he wasn't with the band, but I wonder if you take into the account that he wasn't doing those vocals for all those years in between Game of Life and Listen to the Color.
Right.
If it
Yeah.
just kind
So
of
his
like
voice didn't take
saved his
nearly as much
voice.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, just listening to it's like, I don't know how you like keep going with that for all those years,
Dude, you
especially
can't.
those
It's not
highs, man.
sustainable. We know that's not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah. Entry point, Game of Life?
I believe so. I think this is where you come in, and I hit you with the song like Rabondo or Save the Castle, and you're in. You're sold.
You're in. You're done.
Now you want more. Where can I get
You
it?
joined the
I'll
cult.
give you whatever money I have. Inject this band straight into my veins.
Right.
First time's
Yeah,
free.
man.
Next time you pay.
Free trial. So 7 days are over. You start paying. Unfortunately, Josh, after release of their sophomore album, bassist Patrick Mason would die from alcohol poisoning. Very unfortunate. After a brief period of mourning, the band would fill the vacant spot with new member Jason Bardoni on bass. With the departure of guitarist Nick Cardinelli, the band would turn to new member Derek Yara on guitar. The band would also need to replace the vacant spot left behind by vocalist slash keyboardist Remy Rodberg, as they would add Sean Richmond into the fold to focus solely on keys, doing a little backing vocals here and there. Well, the band would also add a new full-time vocalist, Jared Monette, who would take the place of founding member Cameron Reed. Touring during all this would continue while the turnover was happening, and the new lineup would begin to write material for the next Arsonist release. That is 2009's Portals from Century Media Records. Once again produced by Zach Oren. This is the only album for guitarist Derek Yara, and Portals would showcase a newer style for the band compared to their previous two releases, like me and Josh talked about at the beginning of this episode. And the song Josh in the Empyreans would be written about the death of former bassist Patrick Mason. Phil Freeman of AllMusic.com wrote a brief review on the band's third album, stating, quote, "Believe it or not, Arsonists Get All the Girls have actually matured somewhat on their second Century Media release. Their spastic genre hopping has calmed down and been synthesized into a relatively straightforward blend of death metal, thrash, and electronica, both in the presence of synth melodies and non-programmed disco beats. The songs on Portals are actually songs, not just collections of riffs and moments slapped together. There's some terrific soloing on Violence and Fluid Triceratops that moves them almost into power metal territory, and the album's 7.5 minute title track sits at the intersection of prog and screamo. Other songs like To Play Act in Static and In the Empyreans are fierce mosh pit workouts. They may lose some goodwill for including a lengthy and pointless skit at album's end, but overall, Portals makes it clear that these guys have stopped trying to make each other laugh and are now trying to make listeners care about what they're doing and maybe even listen to the record more than once. It's a laudable goal. Songs on this album include Interdimensionary, The 40-Second Ego, My Cup's Half Empty, Skiff for the Suits, In the Empyreans featuring former vocalist Remy Rodberg, Saturnine, Violence and Fluid, Triceratops, Portals, I Lost, My Loss of Ruin, To Play Act in Static, and the finale, Tea Time, Tibbins. Portals, Josh, did you listen to it when it came out? Yeah, you're on mute.
Portals?
It wouldn't be a History of the Chorus episode without Josh being on mute several
Nope.
times.
Yep.
She turned into a drinking game, man. We'll take another shot. Yeah, Portals. Did you listen to it when it came out?
No.
What? Okay.
I would
So
say
you
I
lost
had
track of Arsonists after Game of Life.
yes,
Okay.
because it was like 3 years
Two.
in between. Okay, 2 years in between albums. Um, I don't think I caught back up with them again until Motherland.
Okay.
And then at that point, yeah, I listened to Motherland, and then I was like, oh, they had this other album come out too. So I listened to Portals. And then, yeah, so I was geared up and ready whenever Listen to the Color came out the following year.
Right. Um, did it shock you though when, because I mean, obviously, back in that time, we didn't have all the information, and especially for a band like this, you probably didn't have a whole lot of like constant like information of, oh, this guy's gone or that guy's gone or whatever. But
No.
when you hear the vocals for the first time, did it kind of shock you? It was like, wait a minute, is this Arsonist get all the girls?
Yeah. I mean, I knew there had to have been some changes, but, and
Right.
then obviously, you don't hear Remy in there either. So it's like,
And
okay,
those
well,
are some
something's
distinct, yeah, you can't mistake his vocals. Those
right.
shrieks and the gutturals. Yeah,
Well,
for
dude,
sure.
that's
You
the
definitely
only,
can't.
and it's like the only reason that Colors works, man, is because like all of these elements about them that were great originally, like come back together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
because even though Cameron's not like full on back in the band at that point, he is on the album,
Right.
and it lends to that sound. And then they have Jason Bardoni come back for that album. Um, Garen Rosen's been in like the that whole time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, those two mixed with Remy, and then also Cameron in there. Like, that's why this works. Arthur Alvarez, he's a
I was about to say
consistent
you're
through that
you're
whole time.
two, yeah, about to say your two mainstay members throughout all of their albums is guitarist Arthur Alvarez and Garen Rosen.
Yeah.
Other than that, you have guys coming in and out, switching up, blah blah blah. But yeah. And it's we talked about it. Me and Eric have talked about it a lot too. It's changing vocalists is the hardest thing for a band to do
Oh
because it's
yeah.
it's in the forefront. It can
It's
make
the
or
death
break.
of a band,
It's the death
Curtis.
of a band. I mean, how many bands, Josh, have we talked about, on the history of the cores that maybe not, maybe it didn't just like totally kill it, but it took it down a notch, or we definitely were like, you know.
Oh yeah.
So, I
I
mean,
can't
we
wait for
talked,
the All Shall Perish episode.
oh
Or not
boy,
not the All Shall Perish episode. I can't wait for the Suicide
suicide
Silence
silence.
episode.
Oh boy,
Ugh. That I
he's
say
getting a
this
headache
I
already.
say this with so much love because that man was amazing, and the heart and soul of that band, and a huge influence to the scene overall, but that band should have died with Mitch
I was
Luker.
about to say,
Like,
some bands just need to know when to end it.
yeah.
And Yeah.
because they have not even been close to the same level that they were with him.
Okay, let me ask you a question about Suicide Silence.
Okay.
Is it disrespectful to his name that they continued on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
And I
okay,
feel like this was all done.
let me say it this way. Not disrespectful to his name, but like the legacy that he created. Like, I mean, you just said it. The mark that he left on the scene during his time of living and in suicide silence, carrying on and bringing, no offense to Eddie, but bringing Eddie in from also Paris, did it like diminish what he did?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I feel like all of this was done with like the most respect. You know, they had that huge like Mitch Luker like
Yeah,
memorial concert where all these people
but
that
you
he
just like
knew
leave it
came
at that
out and
though. That's
like
cool, but
paid
yeah.
respect, you know. And I get that they wanted to go on, but it's like we said, man, new name,
Yeah. Yeah.
start
New
over.
game.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
not drag this thing. It just, yeah, it's
That's
upsetting.
but some for me as being like an outsider, because I was never, that's not my genre. I was never like a huge like Suicide Silence fan. I like some stuff from them, but as an outsider looking in at that, and again, my take because you just said it in a situation like that. New name, new game. Let's move on. Let's not drag the old one through mud. But with it being him dying, it'd be one thing. It was like, peace out. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna go to culinary school, or whatever.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna go to
go
South Africa.
study. Yeah, yeah.
Right. It'd be one thing if it was that, but for him to have died, leaving the mark that he did on the scene, to me as an outsider, that looks like you're like spitting on his grave almost. You know,
Damn. Okay.
I don't know. That's just me though, because I feel like they're really like when you get to the point where it's like, all right, well, what do we do now? I feel like there's like if I was in that band, I'd be like, there's no question, we end this thing. We can't move on without this guy.
Oh,
Especially if
guys,
he
I
was,
thought we knew this was all over.
yeah. What do you mean? Well, yeah, this is over, bro. I've already packed my stuff up. Yeah. But anyway, back to Arsonists Get All the Girls. It wouldn't be a History of the Corps episode, Josh, if we didn't get off track, right? We didn't start
Oh
talking
yeah.
about another band or portals. Um, oh, what I was talking about though with the vocal change, it sounds different. It kind of, I mean, I knew it was coming because of doing the notes and everything like that, and it didn't really jar me like some bands have before when they change vocalists. I still think it fits. I just wish I could figure out who he makes me think of. You know,
Is it not Ghost Inside?
I don't think so though, man.
I
I
feel like
mean, let
more of his
me,
like yells are
yeah.
because it's the beginning of let me see.
Oh, I mean, hey, we're gonna talk about it, but I've just hit the part close to the end of Watchers on Listen to the Color, where it's just like the double bass going and the guitar. It's like, oh God, it's so good, man, so good. Anyway, um, yeah, I was gonna go back to Portals here and listen to something and then try to maybe get kind of a comparison. While I do that, do you want to give me your opinion on Portals?
I do like Portals. It's like you said, this all still fits. It's just not it's just not the same, you know? And I was initially like a little disappointed when I listened to Motherland because I thought I was tuning into something that sounded similar to Game of Life. And it's not, like it's not the same sound. Um the vocals I feel like make it have a heavier feel to it. Um, it does feel like too like we might have tuned down a little bit in these two albums. Um, maybe not, but overall they do have a darker feel for whatever reason. I think, just based on hearing it, it sounds like we've tuned down a little bit and the vocals are staying mostly in that lower range. It's all very bitey and it almost has like elements of like more of a hardcore feel to it. Um, but yeah, I feel like that's the feel that this album and for the most part, Motherland also has. They incorporate the synth in the same way that they did before and enough that it kind of has like almost a callbacky feel to it. And I think that's what part of what keeps you tethered like through these two albums is like little things like that and riffs being written in the style and timing that they would have been written before, even though they're not necessarily the same tone, because again, I do feel like we've changed the tuning a little bit. Um, and those little things I feel like help to kind of keep you tethered through these next couple albums.
Right. I think I kind of hear it with Ghost Inside. And you kind of mentioned it with the bitiness.
Life Once Lost,
A Life One's Lost. A little bit of Robert Meadows at times, you know? I don't know.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, just
Very
very
kind of
like,
like in your face and
yeah.
yeah. Oh, dang, I'm gonna have to go listen to Life One's Lost.
Mm,
Dang it.
so good.
Ah. Maybe it'll be on my albums list next week.
Yeah,
Who
we'll
knows?
see you next week.
We'll see you next time, man. Oh man. Well, that is 2009's Portals.
What do you think of the album art on that one?
I think they
Oh
keep it
yeah, we didn't even
consistent.
talk about the ridiculousness at the end of this album.
Do we have to?
I mean, we
I
should probably at
don't
least mention it
yeah, ugh.
because
Like I
this
get it.
track,
It's
Lost My Loss of Ruin, is a very
you mean Tea Time
Arsonists get all
Tibbins?
the
That's the final track.
oh, I'm sorry. Yep. I This is the bonus track on the deluxe portals. But that one too. Lost My Loss of Ruin. That is a very Arsonist Get All the Girls feeling song. So if a lot of the rest of this album doesn't feel, very much like their first couple albums to you, then there's a
Oh,
little taste of that on the deluxe.
yeah, I guess I didn't notice that it was the the deluxe track is a karaoke version. I don't what?
I don't know what that means.
How's that gonna work? Okay. It's 2 minutes more worth of lost my loss of ruin. I don't know. Or 2 more seconds, I mean. Yeah, anyway. I mean I get that it's like it sounded like a lot of like outtake type stuff, with the little skit and everything.
I think
I don't know.
okay, it's like a mixture of a few things. So, there's the initial like part of the song at the beginning.
Right.
Then we've got quite a bit of silence. Then we've got some messing around in the studio and he starts doing like a news report
Right.
that
Oh my
people are
God.
vanishing in these portals and but then like a minute or two after that, then they're pretending to be like a group of like redneck guys in a
Yeah.
bar.
What?
And then a couple minutes after that, they're doing like the most horridly what feels I don't know, it doesn't feel great. Where they're doing that like I don't know if it's supposed to be Indian music or but you know what I'm talking about at
I
the
know what
end
you're
where
talking
they're
about.
playing like the sitar and it gets kind of weird for a minute there, but yeah.
Yeah. 2009's Portals. It's weird, man.
2009.
No, I think they kept it up with the album artwork. It feels more, and I think it kind of goes along to me with like the production on this album feels a lot tighter than the last two. Um, the
This,
album
yeah,
artwork
over
feels
the
it's still kind of like
sitar,
crazy, but
over the
go ahead.
sitar, a couple of them are just going, "Oh no,
Oh, this
just
band did not
completely
age well.
unintelligible."
Yeah, some of these things this band is doing is not aging too well.
That's
But
one of those things too, man, where it's like, I don't know. It's like you can't joke about anything anymore, you know? Like you gotta everybody gotta be able to laugh at yourselves.
brother, you are preaching to the choir.
And then Curtis,
So
we end the album with what I believe he is saying is girls just want to get fucked.
yes, yes, he does.
I'm
Yes, he
like,
does.
oh my God.
Oh,
Portals,
2009's
Portals,
Portals.
Portals was completely unhinged.
Oh man. Derek Iara on guitar would leave the band and not long after release of their newest album, leaving the band with a vacant spot at guitar. But never fear, Josh, for the bassist Jason Bardoni is here, as he would slide into the vacant guitar slot, leading the band to recruit new bassist Greg Howell. Touring off and on over the next several years, the band would return once again to the studio to record a brand new album follow Tools. 2011's Motherland from Century Media Records. Every other year, Josh. That's the nice thing. Every other year, regardless of all the constant lineup changes, we're getting an album from Arsonists for all the girls. So we got to give them props for being consistent with their albums,
Oh yeah.
for sure. Produced once again by Zach Oren. This is the last album for vocalist Jared Monet.
Will
Jeff
you
Father,
spell his name for me real quick?
Jared,
Yeah.
last name,
His whole name. How'd you
Jared
spell Jared?
Jared. I don't know any other
Okay.
way to spell it.
I
I guess
mean
with an
two
O, maybe.
R's.
True. Two A's, two
Yeah.
J's,
What
three
and then
D's.
Monet?
Monet, Monettee. Yeah. Jafada of SputnikMusic.com wrote a review of the album stating, quote, everything in this album has a purpose. Every time the keyboard is used, it's used right. The band knows they didn't have to use the keyboard just because they could and it was there. While they use it quite frequently, they know what they're doing with it. Even the very few breakdowns in this album have a reason for being played. Speaking of breakdowns, the outro of Hemlock Like This has the most unorthodox breakdown I have ever heard. They have taken the breakdown and made it fun and interesting, and it's not even live. That's very impressive to me. They also have this habit of throwing in these little interludes during songs that are just so bouncy and fun to listen to, such as On Neck of the Contrast and Will Someone Please Turn Down the Ocean? If there was one word to describe this album, this deathcore album, may I remind you, it would be creativity. Just look at the song West Cliffs. It is a totally piano and percussion driven groovy little number that I think best showcases arsonist progression. There is nothing generic about this album. Every member of this band is great at what they do. The keyboardist plays parts that are none too simple, but not overly technical and full of wankery as to diminish the catchiness that gives this album quite a bit of its replay value. The drummer doesn't really utilize too much fast double bass, but he does provide quick, skillful fills and rolls that prove him to be more than your average modern metal drummer, which is most evident in the song Tempest. Not to mention, you can actually hear the bass. It's beyond me why most deathcore/death metal bands decide to mix the bass out of their music, but I'm very glad that Arsonists have not followed this trend. The bassist proves to be just as talented as the guitarist, most evidently in Avdotya and Hemlock Like This. Nothing is without Its faults, though, Motherland is far from perfect. They have a very powerful vocalist, but his style gets stale after a little while. The layered vocals get kind of annoying, and that's used a fair bit on this album. Good thing they're only used where they would be used best. The guitar, for the most part, is all about being technical and fast while forgetting to include the catchy, fun riffs. When they do include those, though, they're worth it. I guess arsonists are just trying to not be predictable, and this album is anything but predictable. Even what I disliked about Motherland has its reasons for being on the album. Without those things, it would feel like there was something missing. Motherland is certainly a highlight of the deathcore genre, and above all, it's really just fun to listen to. It's got groove, creativity, catchiness, and to a lesser extent, brutality. It's not just a mess of wankery that a lot of things that claim to be experimental are. It's an extremely well put together album by a band that finally figured out what they're doing. I can't see them topping this one. Nah, nice. I think this is the pinnacle of Arsonist Get All the Girls ability. Wrong. It's a great album that is
Wrong,
definitely
wrong.
worth your time. If you're into music that goes beyond the norm, this is for you. If you weren't a fan of Arsonist Get All the Girls before, you should check this out. If you were a fan of the band already, this will not be a disappointment. Songs on this album include Rise to Fall, Neck of the Contrast, Goose Knuckle, It Was a Memoir, Dr. Teeth, Avdatya, Waiting for the War to Die, West Cliffs, Hemlock Like This, Woe Be Gone, Our Super Symmetry, Will Someone Please Turn Down the Ocean, and the finale, Tempest. Motherland, Josh. Back to the Motherland? Hmm?
I like Motherland, and it has more of the feel that like we're gonna hear on Listen to the Color.
Yeah.
Um, but this is like kind of confusing because like some of the dates I have and stuff don't really seem to line up with this.
What do you mean?
I'm hearing Remy Rodberg on here, aren't I? Or am I
No.
hearing Cameron doing like guest vocals or something? Like, what the hell is
That's
going
what I
on
was
here?
wondering too. Um, which there's probably some guest vocal stuff, but then I wondered if Sean's doing some, if that's like him coming in on some stuff, if he just kind of has like a similar sound to them.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I didn't find anything that was saying that there was guest vocals on this album.
It's like on Neck of the Contrast. Like, I swear to God, I hear Remy, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, Motherland is like, it's, it's Listen to the Color Junior. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here that's like not necessarily applied the best way, and it does get applied the best way on Listen to the Color. I mean, songs like Neck of the Contrast and Goose Knuckle, that's like a really good window, I feel like, into what you're going to be seeing for Listen to the Color.
Right.
What did you think about this one?
I'm thinking it is Sean just contributing some vocals and he sounds kind of
Just
similar.
really trying to
But
replicate them. But
I'm
dude,
with you.
that
I'm
will
with you though. Because I think there was a line there was a time on I think it was Waiting for the War maybe or maybe Dr. Teeth. It was one of those two. I think it was Waiting for the War to Die. I thought there was a part that was like, is that Remy? Because that's when I started digging. I was like, I don't remember seeing any guest vocals on this one though. And I
and
know
I
he's
feel
not in
like
the band at that time either.
normally, oh damn, leg cramp. I feel like normally um
Okay. That's never
nor
happened on History of Course, I can tell you that.
normally, I would think that that was kind of lame, that like he was trying to replicate their sound,
Yeah,
but it just like serves them so well on Listen to the Color because now they've got Remy and Cameron who have their sound that is a similar sound. And then also Sean, who is replicating some version of their sound. And then you've also got whoever's doing the vocals right now. Um,
Well, they do have several. Are you listening? What are you on? Listening
oh
to
no,
the
it's
color
still Jerry Minette.
on Motherland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. And then he'll also be their main vocalist on Listen to the Color.
who?
Jared Minette.
No, he's this is his last album.
Really? So
Yeah,
Travis does the main vocals on Listen to the Color?
Travis. Who's Travis?
Travis Levert.
Who?
They've got him listed as lead vocals from 2014 to 2015. Who's doing lead vocals on
Travis
Listen to the Color?
Levert. Weird. Hmm. Never heard Travis Levert. On Listen to the Color,
Yeah.
Remy Rodberg comes back and Sean Richmond.
Oh, so they're okay. They're just
Yeah,
coing. They're not doing lead vocals.
no. But it
Okay.
sounds more like Remy is doing more of the lead though. I mean, it sounds like he's got more. But Sean's probably adding depth to it, and that's
That's why
probably
it
where we're
gets
getting that
confusing and like lost
thickness.
in there is because Sean
Yeah,
is also like doing a version of their thing.
right.
And then Cameron's in
Well,
the
heck,
mix too. So
even
yeah, it's like, what the what is
yeah,
going on?
even like early on in like Hits from the Bow and Game of Life at times, I was like, well, which one's Cameron and which one's Remy? You know? Because
Well,
I think even like back in the day, I always just assumed like they were just like full out 50-50 duel, almost like, oh, one of them does the highs and one of them does the lows, or whatever, which would
I
be
feel like
kind of lame.
Remy is the shriller vocals.
Yeah. Oh, I think he does the lows too. I think he does both, to be honest with you, man. That's why I
I'm
think
saying
he's
shriller,
more
not higher.
right, but I think he does the low gutturals too. I think
Okay.
here's the thing about it. I think going back to the original
Shrill
two,
shrill is still not a description of the pitch. Just it's like rough, or he just has the rougher vocals. It's not
okay.
necessarily
When I
that.
think of shrill though, I think of like high pitched like that we hear from Arsonists girl the girls. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I just mean like rougher, more. Yeah.
Okay. I think that going back to Cameron and Remy, they both do highs and lows each, but you can tell the difference at times. They're very slight, but you can tell. And I think Remy's more. I feel like Remy more stood out as kind of the more main vocalist. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know, man. Does it matter? Does it really matter? I guess not. Guess it doesn't really matter. Moving on. Motherland. I feel like there was something else we were trying to do with Motherland, but I don't remember because we were just talking about the vocals or whatever. Um, I do agree with one thing that the reviewer was saying with when it came to the vocals, and it's unfortunate because I think Jared's a good vocalist, but I do think eventually it just kind of gets like kind of stale and predictable. Whereas again, somebody like Remy and even like Cameron or Sean when he's adding some stuff in makes it just gives it like it's unique, you know?
Yeah.
And so it keeps me on my toes. It
Yeah.
keeps me like, yeah.
Ugh. Mm.
Makes me want to go, ugh. So, but I don't know. To me, this is, you're seeing the end. I get with what you're saying of like you feel like this is kind of Listen to the Color Junior, but I feel like too that these two albums is kind of an end of an era for Arsonists, Girl the Girls, and now, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, going to listen to the color, it's Remy's coming back. We want to, you still got Arthur and you still got um, Garen as founding members still there too. Now it's a turn. Now it's time to get back to our roots. Take everything that we've done up to this point, our experience and whatnot, and our musicianship, but get back to that sound that made us of Game of Life, hits from the bow.
Yeah.
So, well, that is 2011's Motherland. After touring in support of their newest album, vocalist Jared Monette would step aside and leave the band, paving the way for return of former vocalist slash keyboardist and founding
And
member.
fading into obscurity
Goodbye.
because he did nothing after
He
that,
did
dude.
nothing.
He like did a feature on some song for a band, and then that was it. That was in like 2010. Now he
Hmm.
probably works at a Guitar Center.
Well, maybe he's a chef because he went to culinary school in South America or South
Maybe,
Africa or wherever. Who knows?
maybe.
Anyway, Remy Rodberg's coming back, so you know, Monette's loss is our gain.
Remy!
Remy, what a name too, Remy Rodberg. Remy Rodberg. Ready to release a new album 2 years after Motherland, the band would seek a return to their roots and self-release. Keyword self-release. No strings attached, no restrictions. We're doing it our way. 2013's Listen to the Color. Produced once again by Zach Oren. This is the last album for founding member Garen Rosen on drums, Jason Bardoni on guitar, Remy Rodberg on vocals and keys, Greg Howell on bass, and founding member Arthur Alvarez on guitar. So basically everyone, Josh. We'll talk about it more when we're done with this album, but this is not good. Author Pizza Machine from SputnikMusic.com wrote a brief review of the band's latest album, saying, quote, Listen to the Color is some kind of death metal, hardcore, deathcore hybrid with synthesizers straight out of psytrance, synth pop, or whatever they jolly want to do. It's goofy stuff just for lols, and while I often cringe at synths coupled with extreme music, it all strangely works. The main display here is heaviness. The deep deathcore style gutturals provide a brutal contrast to the high shrieks sounding straight out of hardcore music. Instrumentally, speeding blast beats and double bass meet non-stop shreds coming from almost every genre of metal. The drummer completely slays his performance with incredibly varied patterns. The vocal work here is nasty. Definitely not for everyone, especially those grating shrieks. The synthesizers are also definitely corny. Once again, not for everyone. If you can strap along for the unexpected, this is an extremely entertaining album with sudden breaks and dynamic shifts. If this is terrible music because of their quirks, well, that's more the audience's fault for being unable to roll with the punches. Hey now. Then again, this is quite an obnoxious album. Either you're down for the ride or down for the count. Listen to the Color slaps the snot out of their instruments the entire time. Annoyingly, perhaps, but their brazen attack will not go unnoticed. The many songs on this album include Setting Course for Disaster, When I Was Your Age, Pluto was still a planet, Bottle City, MK Ultra, Psycho, Tropic Puppets, MK Delta, Glorified Killers featuring ex-member Cameron Reed, Disease Test the Best, Balloon Battle, Listen to the Color featuring Robbie Bancroft of Five Characters in Search of an Exit, Beast Fist, Bardoni's Chonies, Play the Sheep, my newest vision featuring Rob Smith of Heavy, Heavy, Low, Low, Ride the Wave, Watchers, and the finale, Sunny Places for Shady People. How do you go wrong, Josh, with Listen to the Color? And more importantly, Josh, did you Did you see the color when you
I could
listened to this
hear it,
album?
Curtis. I could hear the
Could you hear
colors.
it? Okay, okay. I guess it was more on colors from Between the Buried and Me. You have to see it. Listen to the color. Did you hear it? Okay, yeah. Yeah, did you hear the colors on this album, Josh?
What is your favorite part of this album?
Ride the Wave is good. Little beach bum action, little surfer vibe. Um, MK Delta bringing back camera and getting the old gang back together, buddy. That's good. I told you just a little bit ago that part in the back half of Watchers where it's just the music and it's the double bass just going and the guitar is just going with it, just kind of like a gallop for like
Mhm.
a minute or two straight. Oh, that's sick. I do love the callback in Sunny Places for Shady People to the beginning of the album with the little synth line and setting course for disaster. Where can you really go wrong in this album, Josh? I mean, to me, there's really not a low point. It's
There's
it's
not.
good. It's good from front to back. And like you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, or maybe you mentioned to me before the episode started, you compared it to kind of um, the Chariots, Wars and Rumors of Wars, where I mean it's like 30 minutes long, and it honestly doesn't even feel like 30 minutes to me. It feels like 15 to 10 minutes. It just goes and it just goes and it goes so quick, and by the end of it, you're like, oh, that's it. Oh, there's gotta be more, man.
Yeah, it definitely leaves you
So
wanting more.
yeah,
Um, I really like how in the MKs in Ultra it's primarily Remy with Sean kind of underneath him. And
yeah,
then when it flips over to Delta, it's primarily
Cameron.
Remy and also
Oh,
harmonizing with Cameron. Like
yeah.
Cameron's kind of the underlying vocals, but he's also like harmonizing with him. And there's a few times where like he's out there just by himself, you know. But yeah, that those I remember the first time I listened to those two back to back, and I was just
He remembers every time he listened to this full album.
insane.
Every time you think it can't get any better, can it? Oh, it just did.
Yeah, you sit
Yeah.
here and try to pick out like your favorite songs, and you just end up naming every song on the album because they're all so good. Like this, like we talked about earlier, they did what no other band that we've talked about has done successfully, where they went back to an old sound and tried to recreate it and outdid themselves. It's
Right.
just listen to the colors on another level. You should call it you call it Motherland 2.0, you could call it Game of Life 2.0.
Game of Life too, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see it called Game of Life Part 2.
Hits from the bow again. Dot 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 again.
The Game of
Yeah.
Life and the Game of Death.
Yeah, that'd be cool. They should have done that, man. The Game of Death. You can still have the walrus with the boobs on it, but
Yeah, I mean, why not? Who knows what happens when we die, Curtis? Why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
I don't know if I'm gonna see a walrus with boobs, but I will tell you this. I hope
When you're
not.
on your deathbed, Curtis, as your brain floods with what is essentially DMT. We'll see what you see, Curtis.
I want to grab your arm and be like, oh, I see him, Josh.
Ah,
Who do you
I
see?
see the
Who do you
walrus.
see? You see our ancestors? What do you see, man? You see a light? I see the walrus. The walrus with the boobs.
It's glorious.
It's glorious. And it's glorious. I'm gonna touch him. Unfortunately, oh gosh, it's gonna be terrible. Unfortunately, in my mind, I'll be touching the boobs, but in reality, I'll be touching you. And be like, all right, you gotta get off me, bro. Stop touching me.
Uh,
Oh, jeez. Anyway,
This has gone too far.
It's gone too far. Hey, they started it. They were the ones that made the album artwork. Okay, we're just here
That's
talking
why they
about
had to
it.
put out the one with the ship on it.
They're like, all right, we got to come up with something new here. Skipping a little bit ahead here. I mean, we're basically kind of at the end.
Where are we going? That's
I
this is
mean,
the
yeah, I was
end.
supposed to, well, I mean, we're still hanging on here to listen to the color, but they end up kind of doing like a hiatus, I guess, and but then they come back for a little bit, and I'm sure doing some touring, and I mean, you talked about it. They did the 10-year anniversary of Game of Live in 2017 and such. Um, Now it seems, Josh, that they're back again. I mean, they're doing more touring. But the problem is there's the only remaining member from their founding, or their only founding member that is left is Cameron Reed came back and he's doing vocals. Now, Sean, you're on mute, by the way. Sean Richmond is still in the band. So, I mean, if you can get kind of like that mimicking, style from, you know, older
Remy.
vocalists or whatever, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you only have one guitarist. Um,
Mm.
I, my question to you is, do you chance it and break out new music, or do you go out on a high note with Listen to the Color?
You go out with Listen to the Color unless Remy agrees to come back and you get like if you can get Remy, Arthur, and what was their drummer's name?
Garen.
Yeah, you get that group of guys back. I feel like now we got a stew, Curtis. But if we don't get at least one or two other guys back, this is not and this is not a
Well,
band that's
and
meant to be played with one guitarist.
yeah, that's the bad part too is so it's like you have the hiatus in middle of 2015, and when you come back and you're touring, you do the 10-year game of life and everything. You've got Garen comes back, Arthur does not. Um Looks like Garen's the only one that came back. Because even at that time they had
So
Sean come
Remy didn't
back.
even come back for the
Remy
tour.
didn't come back. Cameron didn't come back. I guess that's where you have,
What the hell?
yeah. So
So it's just Sean?
that's where I'm kind of like, okay. But then, you eventually get Cameron to come back here around COVID time or whatever. But then I don't know. I'm just like, do you really like, do you really want to even like take a chance of moving forward? Just cut your losses. Again, if you want to, if whoever's left in this band now, which your current lineup as of now is Cameron Reed and Sean Richmond on vocals and keys, Sam Hafer on guitar, King Zab on bass, and David Cabine on drums. I mean, if you want to do something with that five piece, that's cool. Let's just leave, Listen to the Color as our final album, and let's start something new. Because I feel like we're just too far away from your core, And I know what
Yeah.
you're saying of like, well, maybe if they can get like, Cameron to stick on and Remy to come back. Yeah, but I still feel like vocals aren't going to save it. Musically, you still have to hit good. And if you don't have Garen or Arthur who have been there through the entire discography,
I feel
I
like
just don't know,
this is my
man.
opinion. You can get this done with Garen on drums, Cameron and Remy on vocals and keys, and then fill in the blank whoever, guitarists and basses. I would
Okay.
like to have Arthur in there, but if you can't get him, whatever. Because the drums, the synth, and the vocals are the most iconic parts of this band.
Okay. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Josh Garen's not back, and it doesn't look like he's going to be back. So you're just going to have to do without.
This is over. Yeah.
It's done. Yeah, I don't know. Listen to the Color
I
was
mean,
is a good
Curtis, their
album,
last
man. It's
album
a good
was
way to end
11
it.
years ago.
Well, I
It's
know. But how many times do we get a band that just like all of a sudden, now we're coming out with one? It's like, oh God, please don't.
After an 11-year hiatus, not often, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, I just kind of wondered, and I think we're in agreement.
I would like them to just
Let's
leave it
leave it at
alone.
Listen
Yeah.
to Keller. You know, that
Unless
was a good way to
everybody
end it.
comes back, let's leave it alone.
And to be honest with you, I always kind of felt like the way that you talked about it, that Listen to Keller was kind of like an earmarked, hey, this is our final album. We're just kind of going out on a high, and but
I mean, that was what it
they're still
felt like
here.
at the time. Like at the
Yeah,
time, it felt like that was like their farewell, you know?
right. And maybe it was at the time, but then maybe I don't know. Maybe
Well, because
reception
after
was good
that
enough.
is
They were
when
like, oh,
everybody leaves, right?
yeah. They have. I mean, they go on for just a little bit, but then they have the hiatus, and that's when you don't get like Arthur coming back after the hiatus. You get, or you don't have. See, did you get? I've already lost the tab. Yeah, it was a mess. Let's just
It
say
genuinely
that.
doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, Josh. Doesn't matter. Oh man. All right. Well, that's all I got, Josh. What more can you really say about this band? You know? Any final thoughts on Arsonists Get All the Girls?
Still love them. Still love
Still love
everything
them.
about them. I'll probably be listening to them right after this.
Mm. They gonna make the is early candidate for top 10?
I don't know. Well, top 10, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. It couldn't make it into the eras list,
No, that's
I
what I
don't
meant.
think.
Eras list. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know because listen to the color. No, because
The
Portals
breakup between,
and
yeah.
Motherland are just like so different. It breaks it up too much, I feel like, to call that an
Yeah.
era. But
Okay. Okay.
I would have to break the mold and put Hits from
Nope.
the Bow,
Can't do
Game of
it.
Life, and Listen to the Color all together.
Can't do it. Asterisk. Asterisk. Oh boy. Yeah, it's a good band, man. Check them out for sure. All righty. You got nothing else to say, Josh?
Do you like the Mario Kart
Oh yeah,
a
that was
little bit
good.
and
Na,
Balloon
na,
Battle?
na, 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 na. Yeah, it made me get ready for the next band that we're going to talk about. So,
Horse, the band called
Horse,
Horse.
Horse, a band called Horse, not to be confused with the other band, Band of Horses.
Yeah,
Two totally different bands.
very
Both good
different
bands.
bands.
Both good bands.
Both
Totally
good,
different
very
genres.
different. Yeah.
So, yeah. Alrighty. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Is Survived by Pro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Chorus After Hours podcast, where I sit down with my good friend and avid listener of this very podcast, Eric, and we talk about some of the bands me and Josh have already discussed. We had a brand new episode come out just this past week about the band known as Between the Buried and Me. And yes, spoiler alert, me and Eric were gushing over Colors 1 and Colors 2. Shocking.
Shocker. Shocker.
Uh, we also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders, and we will be covering the movie when it comes out. But before then, in just a couple of weeks, we're going to have a movie update where we're going to talk about some cast lists, uh, different things that are going on with the production that has recently wrapped up. So hopefully we'll get the movie. I would, if I had to guess, probably at the end, earliest end of this year, going into 2026, probably. But who knows? We also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which has covered season 1, season 2, soon to be season 3, and season 4 of HBO's House of the Dragon. But need not fear, we'll be covering season 1 of HBO's A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms this coming summer. But before then, just this next week, right, Josh? We're going to have a character
Huh?
profile.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure. A character profile on who, Josh?
Edmure Tully, otherwise known as the limp fish of Riverrun. Not really. I just made
Take
that
that.
up.
Take
but
take that how you will. I mean, it could mean a lot of different things. But
you
anyway,
know, his uncle's the black fish. He's the limp fish.
I'm the left fish. Okay. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that episode and much more from the Throne of the Dragon podcast and our other podcasts as well. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, you can head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survive by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. But need not fear, we're also having video podcasts on Spotify. You can check it out starting in 2025 on Spotify. Subscribe to the channel.
So is it on there now?
It's on there now, right now.
Oh, okay.
They're,
All right.
they're looking deep into your soul, Josh.
Okay, cool. All right.
Your ugly soul. Okay. Subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. Yeah, the first one was After Hours. That's on there as a video podcast.
Nice.
Yeah. All
The
right.
future.
Is behind our eyes. Whoa. Okay, anyway.
I just realized I never changed my background for the other albums. I'm still the kids from the bow back here.
I was enjoying it.
I'm all the way at the beginning.
Yeah, so I added all these pictures for nothing. Just go through them real quick. You got the chance.
here we go.
You got time, bro. Here we go. We got
Blast
Hits
through
from the
them
Bow.
real fast.
We've got Hits from the Bow. Got
And then Game
Game
of
of
Life.
Life.
Yep, we got that one.
Yeah, and then we got,
we got Portals. Yep.
we got Portals.
Got that one. Motherland.
Puking,
Yep.
Motherland.
Got that
All
one.
right,
Yep.
and then
Very
finish
nice,
it off
very
with some water spoons.
I have the alternate
Oh, no,
one
okay,
here.
okay.
Yep,
He
I'm
doesn't like
doing the
water
alternate
spoons.
one. Yeah.
All right, we got them all in. Until the next episode, where we're talking about a little band known as Horse, the band. We'll see ya.